It's the Jack
and Cathy
Show.
Shit Show.
And there we go.
Yeah,
okay, I think it. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, babe.
Hi.
Time to dial up the energy level, even though it's like
I'm pissed.
almost 10:30 at night, and we
I'm not happy.
Kind of have to go to bed. You're not happy with your computer?
No.
I know. Time for a new one, my love muffin.
You
deserve it.
I spent $1,700 on the microphones, minus $1,400.
Give or take $1,400.
It's a rounding error.
Well, let's just say your computer will be yet another business write-off, and you need it.
Can I say something about that? When people talk about, look at me when I'm talking to you.
I'm pretty sure I was staring right at you.
I love when people say, but you can write it off. I still got to pay for it. It just means
you need to pay for it, but it's one of those things that it's not like going to the dentist for a root canal and having that be $1,400. You can't write that off. It's like a win. It's like getting points on your credit card when you spend the money. It feels like you just get a little something back. That's all.
Yeah, I get it.
It's a stretch, I know, because you still have to hemorrhage the money.
I had 1 year where I had to buy 2 computers and a whole bunch of other things. And
oh, my.
I think my expenses when I put my business stuff together were through the roof, which was great because it looked like I earned $12 all year.
Then you get a tax refund. See?
Yeah. Well, I never really want a refund because I always feel that I could have had money throughout the year. But that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, that's not our
How
topic
are we
for
on
today.
this one right now? Like, what are we doing?
Well, there are some days, as I'm sure our 4 listeners now.
We have 6.
We have 6.
Woo!
That our 6 listeners now know that some days we have a mission in our podcast, and some days we just hit record and see what comes out of our pie holes and see if it's... It's worthy.
Can we make a commitment to one another tonight?
Another commitment? We've had a lot tonight.
Oh, well, on this podcast.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Go. Let her rip.
For my mama, she had asked that I stop talking about our sex lives. So apparently, Mom, because I know you're listening, I do that a little bit too frequently. But it was relevant to last week's podcast.
Was it?
Well, that's...
Was it really, though? I'm not sure about that.
I thought it was a little relevant-ish.
Oh, baby,
No?
you can always spin a little something into relevance.
Well,
There's
our sex life was relevant only because the whole podcast was born out of the fact that I said something about our sex life, and we said, let's talk about it.
Oh, I know what it was. It was about my vajayjay getting a
Don't
cold.
talk about it. We said we can't talk about it.
That's not our sex life.
I know, but I feel bad for my mom. And then I'm glad
Sorry,
she's listening,
Mom.
so I want to make sure
Yeah, that's so nice of you to listen.
she
Hi,
keeps
Carol.
listening.
Hi, Carol.
Go ahead.
So
Your turn.
I know. We kind of had a big week. Not only was it busy, but yesterday we sort of imploded. So for all of our listeners who believe that the majority of the time, or maybe they think we never fight, we actually kind of got into it yesterday, and we're still making our way back into the light, but we're on our way now. And that was hard. Are you going to say anything?
I get nervous about talking about this stuff because I like the facade.
You like the facade.
I do.
Of making everybody
Think
believe
that we're just goofy and silly and happy.
Yes.
You though, we're human beings. I mean, we don't, like you said something, boy, I'm all over the map. This is making me nervous.
Don't be nervous.
Can we talk about our sex life instead?
Now we might be connecting some dots.
That's a good one. So you said something tonight because it was a really tough 3 days. You can admit that. It's
Yeah.
more like 3 days.
Yeah.
But you said something tonight when you went, our majority of the time we are high. not like weed high.
No.
The majority of the time we were really, really good. But man, when we are bad.
Yeah. We our wheels fall off sometimes. And
Wheels, the axles, bumpers.
we went off a cliff. We tumbled down. It was all in pieces.
Well, so where I'm going with this is that this is obviously not the first time we've disagreed.
Sure. I think we talked about it one other time.
Wait, on a podcast?
Yes.
We did?
Yeah, I think we talked about a fight.
So should we not talk about this?
Sorry.
I know I'm boring you.
No.
Should we not do this then?
just
Have we done this
late.
before? Should we just talk about...
You want to avoid this.
Oh.
Well, so here's the thing.
May I say something first?
Yeah.
Please? Since
Yes.
You never let me talk. You've always wanted to share the bad things. There have been a few moments where you'd say, this is a podcast. We should talk about this. And then I always wait for a couple of days for you to forget about it. And then we talk about something silly. So I'm going to let you, because I even said to you when we were preparing for this, I said, you're going to have to be honest now. And if we're going to talk about, well, I'm going to ask you this question first. My feeling is that if we're going to talk about the shit that went down, then do we share the details of the shit that went down, or do you just talk in glossy terms like we had a bad week, and what do you think's the right thing to do to share with?
Well, I don't know.
people's...
I don't know if the specifics are important, but it started with there is a theme to some of our disagreements and when our wheels fall off, and not every time, but oftentimes the theme is that you express some feelings about something and that involve me, and I take sometimes offense to them. Your feelings. I take offense to your feelings. That sentence just doesn't sound right.
But it's the truth, though. But that's
I know, it does.
To everyone that's listening, that's what causes the fight.
My point is,
I have a feeling about something that happens. Can I add? Just pinch me or kick me in the canuggets. There's times when I get afraid to say something that's bothered me about you because I'm afraid that the reaction is going to be what the reaction typically is. And this week, the reaction, well, that's it, right? And this week, the reaction was huge. And I wasn't prepared for it, and then I got mad.
Yes. So
Is that fair? Did I say that
I took offense to something you were telling me, and without having in my mind the idea that he's sharing his feelings. And this is what I have to keep working on, is when you're sharing your feelings, I have to give you those feelings. I have to acknowledge those feelings. I have to accept those feelings and distinguish between the idea of, or living, as you like to say, dialectically at the same time. I don't necessarily have to agree with, say, the story around those feelings. I don't have to agree with it, but I need to accept your feeling. And what I often do is go, all right, I hear you, but what about X and Y and Z?
You just sent a shiver down my spine.
And
how do I respond usually? That doesn't matter, your X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. Who cares about your X, Y, and Z? Because you just took away all of my feelings, and I get that. I truly do, and so I'm trying to get better at not adding that but, and just saying to you, I hear you. And we've actually been talking about like a way to come at it, so I can say, I hear you. That's not how I either intended for, that was not my intention, but how you feel is important. So let's talk about that.
But that kind of dialogue is new for you.
Most definitely.
Because I got that from years ago. Was, hey, that's not what I meant. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think. Look, I don't ever want to go down. I would love to have like a Dr. Alexander Solomon on, or some other professional, because I don't ever want this podcast to be perceived as that we're giving suggestions. Screw that. That's not our role. Mm-hmm. I can only reference what I've learned and practiced and what has worked for me. So I appreciate when I've said something wrong, that it comes very naturally for me, because I've said it with you, right? Mm-hmm. That, hey, imagine this, sorry. I could say, hey, that's not what I meant. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I meant this, this, and this. You're hearing it wrong. Mm-hmm. Bam. Mm-hmm. Conversation's fucking over. Yeah. You're not going to listen to me.
Right.
And so, but that's sometimes what you say to me, right? That's how it feels to me. Mm-hmm. That's how I hear it. Mm-hmm. And so what's new for you to say and what is natural for me but wasn't. That's the key thing. This was not natural. It was very forced when I learned to say was, hey, that's not what I meant, but clearly that's what you heard. Right. And clearly that's what you feel. Mm-hmm. So how can we fix this? Right. And that's natural for me to say now. Mm-hmm. And I think, well, I want you to say how you feel about it when you say it. And then I'll tell you what my perception is. Is it okay that we're talking this deep?
Of course. All right. I'm still learning to come at it with that. It's not a trained mechanism, if you will, in my brain and my psyche. So what
does it feel like to you to say that? And then I'll tell you what it feels like to me now that it's more of a habit. What does it feel like to you to say?
I have to, because my knee-jerk reaction is I feel misunderstood. Like if you share with me a feeling that you're having about something, and in my brain goes, well, that's not the whole picture. I need to explain the whole picture, But it comes out as excuses and dismissing your feelings. And so in my brain and my psyche and my tension comes from feeling extremely misunderstood by something you just shared with me. And so I have to just really work on pausing and actually biting my tongue, to be honest, and just knowing that it's important for me to listen to what you're feeling, acknowledge your feelings, and not trying to change your feelings, and just leave it at that. And I don't know. I don't always know then what to do.
But what I want to know for the people's listening, what does it feel like? I get what you just said, so I'm going to peg you to go deeper. Mm-hmm. What does it feel like to have to say to somebody when in your gut you're going and you're. So I think it helps to be a little more specific. Cathy and I were thinking of possibly investing in some stuff, and some friends were talking about it, and they said, wow, that runs contrary to what you would do, Cath. And I said in my head, man, it feels contrary to me too. Why does she want to do this? Right? Mm-hmm. And so I simply, in my mind, was asking a question, right? I just wanted to know, I want to get some clarity, because even though so many roads were pointing left, there were a couple things that were pointing right. Mm-hmm. And what I feel when we're about to do investments and stuff is, hey, man, we really both got to be super aligned on things, because I don't want to have one person feel at some point they're being let down or not getting what they want or whatever that is, right? Sure. So as close as we are to both, we're never going to be 100% on everything, but there's phrases like, well, okay, I can live with that because I kind of see where you're going. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it was a simple question. Hey, I sensed some things and there's some patterns because of what other people said, and it runs contradictory to what I hear, and I want to make sure you still want to do this. And so for me, it was that simple of a question, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not just trying to promote this in my way. Would it have
been acceptable for me to go, I don't see it that way. Can I share with you why? Or or I'm
no,
sorry,
see,
what is your question?
that still feels defensive to me.
Yeah. How do I answer the question? If you were asking me the question about whether that real estate investment in that place would have been okay, how do I, if that's a question?
Ask questions of me. That's where I think we struggle the most, is that I've learned, I do this a lot. You'll say something and I'll answer with a question. Mm-hmm. And that's not, again, a skill I had. Mm-hmm. I jumped right to, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you doing? This is fine. You're nuts or whatever. I had that opinion. And so for people listening, and this is why I want to ask what it feels like for you, because I can tell you what it feels like for me and how it used to feel when that would happen. But I simply just wanted to make sure that you were all in on something, and that it wasn't you thought you were in and you were going along in some way, and you took that, if I recall correctly, as, how the fuck could he doubt me? And so there's this massive disconnect, right? I'm going, hey, are you sure you're cool with all this? And you're going, are you actually doubting me right now? And then it led to me saying, well, there's a couple of pieces of evidence that tell me that I feel this way. And at that moment, what I wanted to hear was something akin to, okay, I can see where you could feel that. That's the simplest thing I needed to hear at that moment. Mm-hmm. I can see where you feel that way, because that data does run a little bit contrary to what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And that means truly not taking it personally and not thinking that I doubt you or doubt us, right?
Could I point something out and tell me if I'm wrong? Yeah. So the way you just responded, that's me saying you're right. You needed me to say you're right.
No, see, I think that's where we get into discussions,
and that's why I'm asking.
But my feelings are right? My feelings, how I'm interpreting things, my reaction to them, it maybe the way to look at it is, I don't feel they're right or wrong, because in my opinion, when we break down what happened, and it happened earlier in the week too, it was a series of things that kept happening, and it just culminated on Sunday.
That wheel's been clunking all week.
Right, because it was me going, you're truly just keep dismissing me. That was me saying that to you, right? Mm-hmm. And in my general inquiry was because there was just enough information that ran contrary that I wanted to make sure that all the lug nuts were on the wheel. Because one seems to be loose. Right. And I don't want to keep driving down this road if there's a loose lug nut. Mm-hmm. And I believe you heard it and felt it as, I've checked the fucking, are you kidding me? We're on this drive, the wheel's fine. You're overreacting. Mm-hmm. But there was one loose lug nut, and I know it's 1 out of 72 on a car. I just want to make sure it's not a problem. Mm-hmm. And so when you say, that's why I'm glad you're sharing your feeling. When you say that it feels like you're wrong, because if I'm right, then that means you're wrong. That's so binary to me. And is that how you feel? Because I hope you don't still feel that way after we've talked about it.
No, I feel much better. And we talked about some other stuff too, but I think in the moment it's the words, I feel misunderstood. And
you're saying that to yourself, about yourself, that you feel misunderstood? Or that,
okay. Yes. Like when I hear something and I don't necessarily believe it completely rings true in my mind, I try to make you understand, and all that does is just dismiss your feelings. And I need to look at it through a different lens. And I'm learning that.
Yeah, to me, it's just recognizing that. That's why I ask you when you say the statement, because essentially what we're saying is, when you say the statement, that's not what I meant, mm-hmm. but clearly that's what you hear. Right. Right?
That's not what I meant.
But that's what you hear.
Clearly that's what you hear.
So how can we fix this?
So how can we fix this?
Seth Godin actually wrote that.
Yeah.
And he wrote it in the context of
Brilliant.
business, but I love it. And that's why I ask you, how does it feel to say that? Because I will tell you, the first time I said it, because I know it was with my youngest, Sam, mm-hmm. he had said something, and I'm like, that's not fucking true. I show up, I do whatever the situation was. In my brain, I'm going, well, he's totally not getting this.
Yeah.
But what I said was, hey, that's not what you hear me say to you a lot. Hey, babe, if that's what you heard, I'm really sorry. How can we fix this?
Yeah.
And it's now natural for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I think is most important is not the words are natural. There was a massive discomfort, babe, when I said that to Sam. It came almost out like this in my head. Oh, that's not what I meant, but that's what you heard. That's what you heard, right? But the moment I said it to him, the air of tension just left his body. And he started explaining why it felt that way.
Yeah.
And as he's explaining it, I'm still like, fucking missing it, dude. That's not what I meant. But I realized that that's not important.
No.
What was important to him was to make sure that he felt heard and listened to.
Right.
And what we're able to do is say, hey, when I said that, how did you hear it that way? How could I have said it better to you? Do you see now what I was trying to say? When I say it this way, does it come across differently? Okay, I'll work at that. That doesn't make me a chump, in my opinion, or weak.
No,
Because
who's saying that?
No. I'm saying it can't be perceived that way. Well, I'm conceding. I got to say things a certain way to somebody.
What asshole would think that?
Trust me, we listen to fucking TikToks about this shit. That's why I want to know, and I'm going to keep asking it of you. How does it feel when you think of saying it? Is it hard right now? And that's okay if it is.
Yeah, it's still hard. I don't think of it right in the moment. Like I said, that muscle is not trained quite yet. So even yesterday, I didn't conjure up those powerful words. But I like to believe that this old dog can learn new tricks and get better. I've never been in a relationship that's this communicative, and certainly, we're sitting here doing a podcast, so that illustrates quite a bit. But there's more to this story, I think, as we kept going. It accelerated. So unfortunately,
and then I started
stop.
saying really mean things because I'll own this. There's avoidant and anxious and all these other kinds of attachment styles. Mine's avoidant. So the more I kept not feeling heard, and the more I kept trying to explain it, and the more I kept getting the butts, the more I was like, fuck this, I'm out. Fuck all this bullshit. Don't need to be around. And I get very avoidant, and I know that's not fair to you, because then that crumbles everything for you. And so you've been challenged because I asked a question that was challenging, and then it's made worse when I say not really nice things. You don't fucking get it. You're not listening. You're not paying attention. And now I'm just pointing at you.
Yeah. Yes. That's a good way to describe it. It's you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, and this, and I then
you collapse
under the weight of that, which only frustrates you more.
Yeah, because I look at it and go, I was just asking about, I'm asking about a fucking lug nut, and now we're fighting. Yeah. Right? And I have to feel comfortable to ask you about stuff, and you have to feel comfortable to hear things that we're both not comfortable with. We're at 23 minutes, so I don't want to, if you want to keep talking, we can.
Well, a little bit. I just want to, share with the peoples how it all played out and where we are now. So, this was the last few days, and last night we still weren't quite right. And I'm not going to lie, and now everybody else will know, I cry so easily. So my face gets puffy and my eyes get puffy and I get a headache. And
I wasn't kidding when I told Sam
that
you broke down in tears when you found out about his scholarship. So
yeah. And I'm an emotional crier, so that can be sadness and hurt, but it can also be joy and just like, any emotion, just any.
No,
and
I
can cry.
I know. And I know.
So it physically took its toll on me yesterday too. And so waking up this morning, we did go work out together, and but we still weren't quite right. And when you came home because you went into the office today, and when you came home, I said I'd like to talk. and we sat on the couch and just had another heart to heart. And I think
No, you were brilliant.
Oh, well, of course, but no.
I
So here's the thing. I wish I was more brilliant in the moment, because I need time. I'm a processor, and I get so caught up in my emotions in the moment, and it really is an electrical signal that is going haywire. I can't think straight. My heart's racing. I'm crying. I'm I can even stutter, or be a loss of word. And then the next day, after I've processed a little more, after I've physically feel better, I can come at it from a different position. And that's kind of what we did. And acknowledging my role in it, but also being able to say to you, hey, when we're having issues, the little points of personal attack, just for the sake of sting, if we can be more conscious of not doing that, right?
Well, I totally agree with you. I get so frustrated that it's PTSD with other relationships, and then my brain can't discern. I told you this tonight. Let me back up for everyone listening, or for you. Fuck everybody else. One of the things I've noticed with us, and this may be hard to hear, I have learned through all of the counseling and therapy and coaching and books that I've read, that the best thing to do is to start with yourself. Well, at least that's what I recall. And I'm probably saying it wrong, and I wish they got me wrong.
I was trying to fix you first.
Right. And so, get in line. I learned to say, I'm feeling this way, and I'm this, not you did this to me. But when that happened, I felt really upset. And I'd like to talk about how we can maybe do things differently.
Yeah.
That to me has been the most brilliant thing I've ever learned to do. And I don't get it right all the time. However, I know that that's a better way. We listen to podcasts where they, psychiatrists talk about that. What I've experienced in our relationship is the opposite with you sometimes, right? Well, you did this the other day and blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to pick on you now. Where I said to you, we come home and we started talking, and you didn't lead with, you did this and therefore that. You led with, I get scared sometimes when these things happen and my foundation cracks.
Yeah.
And I felt that when this happened, that happened. And I recognized that I could have been better at this particular time. And I just didn't know what to do. And that's the thing that I have to get. All you did was talk about yourself and how you reacted and how you felt to it. And I said to you when we were done, you said, what do you have to say? And I started crying, right? I said, that was brilliant. I have nothing to say. Because I feel that when you're in a relationship, from what I've read and experienced, if you just own what you're thinking as opposed to putting it on the other person.
Yeah.
I can't fight that. The worst thing I could have done to you in that moment was to say, you overreacted, right? Instead, I looked at you and said, that was brilliant. Because you shared how you felt and you expressed what was going on. And my challenging that I was just being a dick.
Yeah.
That's how you felt. You felt overwhelmed. So I could look at you and go...
I also understood that you were struggling yesterday too. And this is the side of you that is not your best side that comes out in those moments. And, we're human. We all have that. I don't handle shit perfectly. And
well, that's what I'm saying.
You don't either.
To me, the thing that you were great at is looking inside. And what I know I said to you was, I've got to get better in that moment. Like, we have to have a cacao thing, right?
Yeah, yeah. If everybody doesn't know what that is, it's a Portlandia reference. It's the safe word.
Safe word.
Not used in the same context as what we're talking about right now, but hilarious. Check out the cacao episode of Portlandia.
Yeah, I don't want to come across as better than you, and I feel that I am right now, and I don't want to.
Okay.
I know, but I know.
That whole sentence didn't
Sounds
sound too
dickish.
good.
I know.
It kind of does. But continue.
I know.
Let me hear the whole thought.
I know I've been practicing this for the better part of 6 years since I got divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And if my kids are listening, I don't want them to think that they were just guinea pigs. And I would hope that they say that they see a different dad.
Mm-hmm.
But I was a highly reactive, highly judgmental person. And so it took a long time
Mm-hmm.
for me to breathe, understand what other people's needs are, and to realize that if there's something that comes at me, it's worth listening to.
Yeah.
And I know that that's very different for you. At the same time, I know how deeply sincere you are, how empathetic you are, and how much you care about me. And so if I ever question any of that, I recognize that that's going to shatter you a little bit. And so I said to you, I've got to get better at having discussions, or if recognizing that it's starting to create a tidal wave for you at your face,
Yeah.
I've got to find a way to bring this tsunami down.
Yes.
And that's what we have to work on, both of us.
Yeah.
You hearing things well, and me recognizing and saying things in a way that can be heard better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't want anyone to think that we come at each other like this. I don't want you to think me going, yo, what the fuck was last night? And you going, chill out, dick. It's not even like that.
No, it
wasn't. It has a friendlier component to it. It's just that there's some confusion. And then once the confusion settles, I think Aries and Sagittarius are known for this. Stick those fucking heels in the ground and good luck. Yours is to stick your heel in the ground, and mine is bye-bye. Yeah. Which are not good combinations. And so the minute I'm not listening to them, it's like I'm out later. So yeah. I know I got to get better at that.
Yeah,
Was this
I've
helpful
got work
talking
to do
about
too.
this?
I think so. I think so. It's interesting to talk into a microphone and feel like there's an audience, even though they're not in front of us, because I think it makes us talk a little bit differently about some of these sensitive, and I mean that in a good way, like almost like you go talk to a therapist and you want to articulate better than, I don't know. So
babe,
I feel my point is I feel like it's a little therapeutic still in a good way to be doing this podcast on this topic.
I even believe that our talk about our business was better because we could be really honest with one another.
Yeah.
And that to me is the one thing I want to always be is, hey, I got to tell you, like, I want you, I know it sounds weird to say it this way. I want us to feel safe to say to each other, you let me down, and we each have to hear it. Mm-hmm. I want tough, I don't always want, you're so great. No, you're great.
No, actually, that is what I want.
So, no, but there's going to be times when...
Just lie to me.
Yeah.
Please.
Still have my cough. There's going to be times when I let you down.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to feel comfortable to say you let me down.
Yeah.
And I have to be comfortable enough to hear it and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what we're getting better at.
Yeah, I think so. And, we don't fight too often, but when we do, I swear every time I learn something new, I just become, I don't know. It's funny at 57 to still feel like you got some growing to do,
Oh,
still
fuck,
not
we're never
all
gonna stop growing.
still not all
right?
grown
That's the
up.
cool thing.
Yeah. So
and next month, next year, 2 years from now, we're going to learn something new that we both read about that we
no
haven't
doubt we're going to have some
thought
more
about,
challenges.
right? I mean,
for
I didn't know
sure.
about love languages, for example, when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that stuff makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
The issue is, I know we both want this to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell me if you disagree. It's hard when we're 55 when we met and we've got all these other experiences. Like I told you, sometimes when we have disagreements and things come out of your mouth, man, it sounds so familiar to so many other relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And what I have to get better at is going, okay, she's not anybody else but her. Stop lumping it into
That's
a
right.
category.
That's
Recognize that this is how she feels. And so, but my point is, you get older and man, it gets challenging because you've got so much experience that it almost gets in the way.
Right. And in previous relationships, sometimes the issues are the same, but sometimes different relationships unearth different issues in yourself that you didn't see before because it just wasn't, it wasn't present or relevant or a problem in a previous relationship. Different people bring out different things in you. So it really is a growing process. And I really do think that we have takeaways after these moments. And I'm so grateful for that. And so I personally am feeling a lot better, and it feels good to, keep it real on this podcast.
Well, I
We're
told
not
you
all
we
giggly
had,
and silly every time.
we really, this is one of the most serious podcasts we've had.
Yeah.
We are really silly most of the time and goofy. And I don't want anyone, the purpose of this podcast, you and I know what it is, and I don't need to share with anybody else, but you know what this is.
What?
And so if you're going to follow this shit show, we got to
it?
show you some stuff that happens. It's not always glam and glitter.
Oh yeah.
And I'm telling you, we're starting, everyone knows we've got our real estate company and the shit show. Mm-hmm. And we had a really big heart-to-heart about what are our goals then? And are we on the same fucking page? And if we're not, man, we got to talk it through. And by the end of it, not a sexual reference, though it's going to come off that way because that's who I am. You came over to me from the couch and dropped to your knees and gave me a hug. By the way, give me a hug, please, people. So stop it.
Yes.
And you said something to the effect of that I inspired you.
Yes.
And none of that.
I think I was wallowing a little bit and still kind of, having a little pity party over everything.
And I love that you're owning that. You were having a pity party. But here's the thing: I could have been like, just fucking get over yourself, Jesus Christ. And instead, I looked at you.
A little of that we've done at times, but ultimately,
more of it. That's the energy that comes across. But the sentiment is really, we got this. Come on, we got this. Mm-hmm. Let's get up. Let's do it. Let's. You know what? It's a phrase that I love. Let's pick our hard. It's hard to be, for example, out of shape or overweight or not healthy. And it's equally as hard to be in shape and all those other kinds. Pick your hard, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard to start a business and earn money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to not have the things you want. So pick your hard.
Right.
And to me, I'm going to start crying now. What was great was that despite the pain of the argument we had where we really weren't connecting, it energized us for our business, for the Jack and Cathy shit show.
We kind of, I'm feeling a reboot, which is really, really good. And
do you sometimes think, and I know we're going over time a little here, but do you sometimes think, I'm an avoidant person by nature, avoidant, anxious, all those things, right? I'm avoidant by nature. It's kind of how I learned things. And just it's easier to say, fuck it, I'm not going to talk about it and hide from it. And do you feel that a lot of couples, I mean, I know we both got divorced. I get that. So there was a lot more to leaving. But do you feel at our age that it's easy to just go, fuck it, moving on? I mean, because so many other things are, you know what I'm getting at?
Well,
or is that just my instinct?
No, I don't think it's easy. I don't think any of it's easy.
Okay.
I really don't.
Okay.
I think when a relationship ends, say it was the spouse you had your children with, that's really hard to walk away from.
No doubt about that.
And then it's hard to walk away from, if something would ever happen to us, and we never know if we didn't work out. That would be hard because I am seeing our future. We are building our futures based on this relationship. And yeah, if that didn't work out, that would be really freaking hard. Yeah. And I don't take that for granted, even though we both want this and we both want this to work out. The big thing is, don't take that person for granted.
Do you think it gets hard sometimes?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You think that's normal?
I do. I feel like what's not normal is talking about it. Like it is very hard. I did not have this kind of dialogue in my marriage, and sometimes I wonder if something would be better. But I just think this is so important to staying connected, is to be able to talk.
Mm-hmm.
At least it is for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's really what my heart and mind were searching for.
Mm-hmm.
So
it wasn't my body?
Oh yes, the body.
There we go.
Yes. Such a guy having to throw that in.
No, it was just me trying to break the tension. It's a very heavy podcast.
It is. So anyway.
And I don't always like that. It's interesting for everyone listening, because this is our shit show, so I'm going to say this.
Say it.
There are some things I don't like sharing with everybody, and yet I know that's the purpose of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
People want to know this stuff from us, the 6 listeners or 8 listeners that we have, but I don't always like showing that. I'd much rather just talk surface level. I prefer, so everyone knows, you and I have super deep conversations of a lot of things. I'd rather keep that to you and me, so this is hard for me to talk about.
Well, that's
so
where I think a little of this is good, because I like to keep it real for the podcast too. But some of the details don't need to be, the details don't matter. It's just sort of big picture, what went down and how did we handle it?
It's even difficult for I get what you're saying. I like having deep conversations. You're yawning. I'm boring you that much. I know it's late.
Not at all. It's 11
o'clock. I love
o'clock.
having deep conversations with you. I love having the strength of those emotional things where we talk about each other. Hey, what are you thinking and feeling, and what's in your mind, what's in your heart? I love that we do that. I just don't like sharing with anybody else. I think that's ours, and I'm much more as gregarious as you know me to be, and in public, I'm very private when it comes to this stuff, or at least only with certain people. So, let's go to the Gottman stuff. Can we do that now?
Yes, let's wrap it up. Let's do
How
one
do
of
you
these
feel
questions.
about all this?
Good. We are on our way back into the light, and
I'm very excited
it feels
about.
Good.
We agreed to walk at 6:30 tomorrow. It gives us 7 hours.
Did we?
We did. We're not stopping. No, we're not stopping.
When Cathy
we're
goes
doing
to
it.
bed
Yep,
between
we're still
11
doing it.
Oh God. Okay, wake me up at 6:15.
Wake me up
before you go.
Okay, got me like that one.
Yeah. So
sure?
This is a Gottman card.
You like this one?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead
How
and read
have you changed in the last year? Well, almost everything has changed.
If you really think about it, it's fucking crazy a year ago.
Where do we begin? I think
a year ago I was in Chicago.
Almost everything has changed.
Yeah, a year ago I was in Chicago. Right? We were, in fact, a year ago wasn't one of our podcasts about almost getting a house? We almost got that other house, right? It had to be February when we were talking to them about that house.
Man, I lose track of time. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Had to have been on Hampton. Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, yeah, we were dancing around buying a house, and we were probably still looking in Downers Grove in Illinois, and then ended up finding this house.
We were looking at Chicago quite a bit with what's her name?
Yeah, we were looking at
condos.
And
so much has changed in a year.
Yeah, so much has changed.
What are we doing? What the fuck?
And it's still going to change in another year.
We got to slow the fuck down. I'm serious. We're getting too old for this shit. That's why we fucking fight. Because we should just be having sex and partying. There I go.
There it is. Sorry, Carol.
Well,
All right.
I appreciate you wanting to talk about this. It's truly been,
thank you for
I know
doing
I
it.
shared a lot, but it's been very hard for me to do.
Yeah.
And if you were to feel my heart rate's usually at 50 beats, it's around 90.
Wow.
Yeah, this really bothers me talking about this, and I get nervous about putting this out.
I think we done good.
I know. I just don't like anyone knowing that there's any kinks in the armor, which I'm sure I'm gotta believe your friend Erin's gonna listen to this, and we're gonna get a long ass fucking string from her boss. You've got to be able to talk about it. We know you're not perfect. Shut up, Erin. I want to be perfect. Shut up. Good luck on the
it's
dates,
good.
though. By the way,
it's
girlfriend.
keeping it real.
Thanks,
Keeping
baby.
it real. All right, babe.
Okay.
I love you.
Love you too. Oh, forgot to do that. Peace. Jack and Cathy Shit Show outro take
You should start off
652.
laughing. You just listened to another episode of the Jack and Cathy Shit Show.
Our senior producers are me.
Hey, and me,
This episode was produced, engineered, and mixed by
the amazing Key Honar.
Email your questions, comments, or interesting relationship stories to Jack and Cathy shitshow@gmail.com. That is Cathy with a C.
Be sure to follow and like our marvelous shit show on Instagram and TikTok at Jack and Cathy Shit Show. Apparently, liking and following is a thing.
It is.
Yeah.
This episode was produced by Pint Productions 2022. Point!